Ollie's ready. Ollie's excited. Hey, my chicken. Yeah. Are you trying to speak into the microphone? Hello lovely people, welcome to the first video of 2024. I had such an amazing break over Christmas and New Year's. It was so nice to just relax and do nothing. I was at home with Ollie and my fiance Marcel. We are getting married in like 2.5 months back home in South Africa. So we decided to just do a very small Christmas this year, stay at home, and we did like a little friends Christmas on the 24th, and then we went to our French friend's house, well her parents' house on the 25th, and that was really lovely. We had raclette, which was our first time trying it, having a proper French Christmas, so it was lovely. But I am back in full swing now, back to making YouTube videos, back to taking on clients, back to working, all that jazz. I'm back in full swing, ready to rock and roll. And as you can see, I have changed my office space. Ta-da! So I now have a much bigger desk, which I'm really happy about, because my previous desk I was feeling very squashed and cramped. My fiance does PC gaming, so we bought him a new desk and then I took my old desk back from him. Now I've got like this L-shaped desk, which is fantastic. I'm like in a little cove in the corner. I still need to put up art and stuff on the walls. They're a bit plain, so maybe I'll do some painting or some drawing or something like that, or an illustration just to liven up my corner a little bit, but I'm very excited. I think this year is going to be such a great and positive year. I mean, I'm getting married, so I mean already it's going to be an amazing year. Nothing can go wrong. Like I don't know, I have good feelings about it. We're going to grow, we're going to build a community over here. That's one of the things that I want to do on this YouTube channel, is sort of just show a bit more of my life, show a bit more, yes, design and art and tech and all of that, but also just some lifestyle stuff. My day as an artist, living in France as an expat, as a South African in another country, navigating my life in France, navigating business in France and getting clients and all that jazz. So it's not just going to be solely graphic design from here on out. And I'm a traditional artist. I love painting, I love drawing. I actually started this channel specifically for art, and then I shifted it into like a graphic design space. So I would also like to bring an occasional art video in. If you want to see one of my art videos, I'll link it up here. It's a ballpoint pen drawing video, and I really love that video, so that's what you can expect if you want to see traditional art as well as graphic design. And this is kind of just going to evolve into an all-around art design freelance channel. Yeah, those are kind of my expectations and goals for the channel this year, so if you are interested in that stuff, follow along. But to kick off the new year, I thought, hey, let's do a Q&A, because I've never actually done one of those over here, and if I want to build a community on YouTube, you guys kind of have to get to know me a little bit or ask me questions and that sort of stuff. So I put out a little question box poll on my Instagram and on my TikTok. You can see my Instagram and TikTok here at Han_Selah, it's both the same. And these are some of the questions that I received from you guys, so I'm going to read them out and answer them for you. I also have my coffee, so I'm going to be drinking and sipping and answering questions. This wasn't a question, but if anyone wants to know, I take my coffee black, no sugar, no milk. Super sweet and simple. Okay, I found the questions. So I got questions on different like areas. So I got some about my life in France, some about YouTube, some about wedding stuff, and then some about freelance and business and art related stuff. So I'm going to put them into those little 4 categories. I think it's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 categories. So the first one was, I got some questions about my life in France. Where do you live in France? So I live currently in Normandy. The first 2 years that we lived in France, we lived in a small village in the south called Orthez, and it was right at the base of the Pyrenees Mountains on the Spanish border. So we lived there for 2 years, and then of June of 2023, so about 6-ish months ago, we moved up to Normandy, and now we live by the beach. So it's totally great and lovely, and I love living by the beach, because back home in South Africa I lived in Durban, and that was like a beach city, so it's really nice to be by the beach. Although it's winter now, so it's like -3 degrees outside, like there's ice on the road and everything, so it's not like I'm going to the beach. But in summer it's really nice to be here. So yeah, I live in Normandy. How long have you been in France? I've been in France for 3 years now, which is crazy. Like it feels like I've only been here for a year, but 3 years, it's wild. I'm about to celebrate my 26th birthday, and I arrived here when I was 22, turning 23. So yeah, it's crazy. Do you speak French? Oui, je parle un petit peu. I speak a bit of French, so I know when I arrived in France, I didn't speak a word of French, not a single word. So I had to learn completely from scratch, and I can speak more than enough French now to get by, to start conversations, to introduce myself, go to the hospital, go to the shop, go to the bank, go to the dentist, whatever I need to do. Now it's kind of just digging deeper, going more into my vocab, getting more confident with pronunciation, because the pronunciation is what is quite scary. I'm very good with the vocab, but it's with French, you read a word and it looks one way, but it sounds completely different. So yeah, but I enjoy speaking French. It's been a good challenge, and it's crazy how much of a language you can learn by speaking it or just being thrown in the deep end and having to learn to speak it. So yeah, it's something I'm very proud of. I'm going to go back into French lessons this year, which is really exciting because they'll just help take me from like here to here, which is very cool. Okay, and the last question I have about life in France is, how is it living in France as a South African? It is so different. Oh my goodness. I don't think there's anything similar about the two countries. It's crazy. Like South Africa, I love South Africa. I love just everything about it. You know, it's my home. And France just has, I mean, it's a different language, different people, different culture, different way of life, different way of doing things, transportation, just everything. I mean, they don't have load shedding, so you have electricity all the time in France. In South Africa, you don't have electricity all the time. They take it away for like 8 hours a day. So that's another thing. But every country has their ups and downs. I think the biggest challenge is the language barrier. When I first arrived, I couldn't speak French, and where we lived in the south, no one spoke English. It was Spanish or French, so I had to learn the language to make friends and to get by. Up here in Normandy, a lot more people do speak English, but I'm at a point now, like I said, in my French journey where I don't have to speak English. I can speak French and get by and understand what's going on. In terms of culture, it's very different here. Their approach to food, their approach to education, their approach to transportation, just everything is so different. But each country has their pros and their cons, and I love them both equally. And I think if I didn't have my fiance here with me, I would have a very different experience. At least I've got someone else here to speak English with, someone else who is South African that I can connect with, basically. If I didn't have that, it would be, yeah, a different experience. It's difficult already starting from scratch in another country, and doing that alone it would just be crazy. But I do love it here. The people are great once you get to know them. Once you've like gotten into inner circles, it's really good. So yeah, that's kind of what I can say about being in France as a South African. Another thing is there are a lot of South Africans in France, especially a lot of sports people and a lot of yachties. There are Facebook groups and stuff with South Africans in France that you can join. You can meet up with people. We have another South African here in the city that we're in, and in the previous town that we were in, we had another South African as well. So you always tend to find them. Actually, there were 2 others that we met down the south as well, 3. In the surrounding towns we were in the south, there were a couple of South Africans, which is quite nice. So yeah, you just gotta look for them, and then we kind of all meet up. It's nice because we have that sort of culture that brings us together, and yeah, it's nice. Okay, so I got some questions about YouTube. How long did it take you to set up the whole YouTube thing? Obviously you need a camera and all that jazz. So it doesn't take long to set up a YouTube channel that you can do in one afternoon. It's very quick. That doesn't take long at all. And yes, you do need a camera, which leads me into the next question that someone asked, was what equipment do you use to film your videos? So I use the Canon M50 to film my videos as my camera, and I just use the standard kit lens, the 15 to 45mm, and I just use an ordinary tripod that I actually bought back in South Africa, and I brought it over to France with me in my suitcase. I don't know why, I could have just bought one here, but anyway. Then this is the Fifine USB mic. I also use the Rode Video Micro in my other videos, and as my main machine for all my video editing, for all my design stuff, software work, everything, I use the MacBook Pro 16-inch 2021 M1 Pro Max chip. Yeah, it's the top MacBook from like the most top released one. That's not the M2, it's the M1. The MacBook Pro version, 16-inch, and I use all of the Adobe programs, so for all of my design and stuff. But for editing, I use Adobe Premiere Pro, I use Adobe Audition to record all of my sound, and what else do I use? And for lighting, I use a Rayleigh lightbox, which you can't see right now, but I will show you after I've filmed this what my lightbox looks like. This is the softbox that I use, as you can see. So, hi! I've got a moon lamp that my fiance bought me as an ambient light. Currently I'm just using my bedside table lamp as another ambient light behind me. And what else? I guess we could put in my monitor, but it's not really much for videos, but I edit off of it. So this is the ultrafine 4K 27-inch monitor. I really like it, and it also tilts into portrait, which is great and fantastic. And what else do I use? I have a little lav mic that I use, no particular brand. And then one more thing that I use is this little Alonzi lamp as well, as it's an RGB lamp, so it's got all these different colors that it can go. So if I'm not using this lamp, then I will use this lamp, but this one's dead and I haven't charged it, so that's why I'm using the bedside lamp. And what else? Yeah, and I use an SD card. I use a 64 gig SD card, and then I've got a 32 gig and a 16 gig as my backup cards. So those go into my camera, and then I just put them into my MacBook when I edit. And then the last and final thing that I use is the Samsung T7 SSD. This is a 2 terabyte one. So basically all my YouTube videos, I plug this in and I edit and I work and I transfer everything to this, so nothing stays on my local machine. It's all on an SSD, an external SSD. So this is the one that I use. None of these are sponsored, by the way. These are just the equipment that I use. Okay, so moving on. That was a really long question. Wedding stuff. How's wedding planning going? Isn't your wedding soon? Wedding planning is going really well. Surprisingly, it's all been pretty smooth sailing, considering we are planning a wedding from France and it's back home in South Africa, so we've had to do everything via email, or yeah, so it has been stressful, but you know, it's been doable. We went back to South Africa in May of last year. That's where I did some dress shopping and I got my wedding dress. My fiance picked out a suit. That's where we visited the venue and all of that jazz. So it's really exciting. We're getting married in a forest in the Drakensberg Mountains. So yeah, it's gonna be really beautiful. Here's a picture of what the venue kind of looks like. This is where we will have the ceremony, in the forest, and it's got the mountains and a lake in the background. Yeah, very, very exciting. We're getting married at the end of March, so I go back to South Africa in February for a friend's wedding, and then I'll be staying in South Africa while my fiance comes back for work, and then he will join us just before our wedding back in South Africa. But at least I'll be in SA for like a month and a half, where I can sort out all the final wedding stuff, basically. So yeah, it's gonna be very exciting, but still got quite a few things to plan. And yeah, I've got a little countdown. I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see it. Oh wait, now you can see it. Over there, I've got a countdown. So the countdown is just for how many days we have left, which is quite exciting. So moving on to freelancing questions, we have the freelancing do's and don'ts. So freelancing do's, I would say, do make sure that you set up a business before you start working, so you are sorted legally. Do set up a business account for your finances, so a bank account that's just for your business stuff. Don't use your personal bank account for accepting all of your business stuff. Personally, I didn't have a business bank account when I first started, but when I started to get a lot more clients, then I shifted over to a business account, and I've been using that ever since, and it's been such a good move because it can get really messy having your business stuff and your personal stuff all in one account. Personally, I use Wise Banking because they have really low cost international transfers and fees, and because I'm always dealing with international clients in different currencies, it just makes it so easy. I can request payments from people, I can send them payment links, they can send me local currency in their currency, and then I can convert it into euros. So it just works really well and effortlessly. It's quick and it's low cost, and that's the main thing. If you want to sign up to Wise, I have left a link in the description of this video, and depending on where you are, you might be able to get a free debit card using my link. This is not sponsored, by the way. I just have had a very positive experience using Wise, so I recommend them, and it's free to sign up. So yeah, win-win. Another do would be, do set up a LinkedIn account. It's always good to have all of your work experience, all of your job stuff in one profile, basically. So, and it's also really good to find clients as well that way on LinkedIn with a LinkedIn account or LinkedIn profile. It doesn't have to be a premium one, just the free version would be good. And I'd say do set up a portfolio, especially if you are a designer or any freelancer in general. You need a portfolio. You need a place where people can see your work, see your style, and contact you. So make sure that you have a portfolio where people can actually reach out to you. But don't put every single project you've ever done in your entire life on your portfolio. Only put the stuff that you are extremely proud of, put recent stuff, and put stuff that you want to attract, or clients that you want to attract. So if you want to work with, I don't know, a dog company, then you must put something to do with dogs. Or if you want to work with eco-friendly, natural, vegan clients, then put that sort of stuff in your portfolio. If you want to be working on fun, playful, bold, exciting, colorful brands, don't put law firms and banks in your portfolio, because those are not the clients that you want to be attracting. There's nothing wrong with putting in passion projects or fake projects to attract the clients that you want to attract. I think that's what I can think of just off the top of my head. I didn't plan these answers, so I'm literally reading the questions and then just saying what comes off the top of my head. The second question on freelancing is, what's the first step to take to finally getting your art sold? So this kind of ties in with the previous question, but make a portfolio of some sort where people can see your work, see your style, and contact you. That is very important. It doesn't necessarily have to be a website. It could be a social media profile. It could be a Behance profile. It could be a free website. But I must stress, if you want to take it very seriously, if you want your clients to take you seriously, invest in a paid website where you have a domain, such as www.hanselah.com. That is my domain, it's me, I own it, and there's no advertising on the website because I own it. So if you are serious about it, I would not recommend getting a free website because you will have advertising on it. I would consider purchasing your domain so that you have your paid domain, it's yours, you own it, and no one can take it away from you. It also just solidifies that you're serious, you've invested in your business, and you've got a paid domain and portfolio if you go the website route. You can set up a free Behance portfolio, you can set up a free social media profile, so you can go on Instagram, you can go on TikTok, you can go on LinkedIn, you can go on Dribbble, you can go on Behance, any of those as well. You can post your art for free and build a portfolio. But remember that you are using someone else's platform, so you don't own that. So for example, if Instagram crashes and it's not working for a week, there goes people's way of contacting you. If they suddenly decide to close down Facebook, there goes all your stuff. And same goes for all the other apps and programs. So the thing about having a website is it's yours, you own it. You know, if something crashes, it's not going to affect your business, it's not going to affect your clients being able to contact you and get hold of you. That is something that is very important about having your own website, is the ownership of it, and you have full control over everything to do with your business. It is great to have social media stuff, and you can start on social media. I personally started on social media, building up a community, building up a following, building up people that want to see my work, and then from there I opened my business and I started my website and I started attracting clients. But having that social media following, having that area where people can see behind the scenes, people can see what you're working on, people can see what you like, what you don't like, and get to know a bit more about you, it's always good. So definitely the first step in getting your art sold is building that community, building that sense of showing people who you are and what you do. And it's important that you show up and you show your face, because people want to buy from people. They want to see who they are investing in. And social media is a great way to show them who you are. The next question is, how do you get your international clients? Personally, my international clientele really kicked off when I started posting to YouTube. The videos started doing really well, and I directed people to my website from my YouTube videos, and that's how I ended up getting a lot of my international clients. And then from there, people also refer. So I've had a couple of referrals from the international clients that I've had, which has also been really good. The next question is, what design software do you recommend for beginners? So personally, I've only ever used the Adobe Creative Cloud, and I will always recommend the Adobe Creative Cloud because that is the industry standard in graphic design. So I use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Photoshop. Those are my main 3 graphic design softwares. Then I use Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing. I use Adobe After Effects and Media Encoder for animation. And I use Adobe XD for prototyping, but I've actually moved on to Figma now. That is the only one that I don't use in the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. I started on Adobe XD and then moved to Figma. Figma is an incredible tool. I've also left their link in the bottom if you want to check them out for free. You can start and then upgrade if you want to, but Figma is game changing for UX, UI, and web design. Chef's kiss. So those would be the immediate ones, but if you're an absolute beginner, I would say Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe InDesign. I have done an entire video all about learning graphic design and that sort of stuff, and I will be doing a more in-depth video on each of those softwares. But if you want to check out this video, it's all about becoming a graphic designer, a beginner graphic designer, tips, tricks, how I got started, and all the things you need to kickstart your graphic design career. And the last question that I had about freelance was, I'm a graphic designer for about 6 years now. Any tips and tricks that are helpful with designs and... Ollie, come. Excuse me. That's my little dog, Ollie. Ollie, I come. I just realized that I haven't had any of my coffee. It's literally just been sitting here. I completely forgot about it. Anyway, Ollie won't stop barking, so he's now joined me and he's going to be on my lap. Hey, calm down. The neighbors have just come home and they live above us, so every time they come in they have to walk up and down the stairs, and then he gets a fright because he thinks there's a threat, but there's no threat. So baby, there's no threat, I promise you. Anyway, what was that question that we were answering? I'm a graphic designer for about 6 years now. Any tips or tricks that are helpful with designs and sourcing? Okay, so let's think. For designs, so I kind of covered software and that sort of stuff, industry standard for software, which is the Adobe Creative Cloud programs and softwares. So that's what I would say for designs. And the second one would be in terms of sourcing. So sourcing is in like sourcing mockups and fonts, or sourcing like clients. I don't know. So that question's kind of twofold, but let's say sourcing fonts, mockups, you know, images, 3D models, anything like that, I would recommend Envato Elements, which I've linked down below as well. Again, none of these things in here are sponsored. This is a completely sponsorless video. One of my goals for 2024 is to get a YouTube sponsor, so I'm working on that, but none of these are currently sponsored. I personally just use Envato Elements every single day in my graphic design freelance business, and it's literally just taken everything next level. But yeah, Envato Elements, they have thousands of fonts, mockups, they have graphic templates, stock videos, stock photography, sound. I mean, there's just so much there available, 3D assets. So definitely in terms of sourcing stuff, do that. In terms of sourcing clients, I also kind of went over that already as well. I would say setting up a social media so that people can see you, they can identify who you are, what you do, how to contact you, and just building a community with your audience. Because as I said earlier, people buy from people. They want to invest in someone they feel like they know. They want to invest in the community. They want to invest in someone that they trust. And you only build that brand trust by putting yourself out there, by speaking about who you are and what you do, by showing your face. Yes, there are some artists and designers that can do it without having their identity out there, but it's just a lot harder, I would say. So just building that brand trust, like this one-on-one, getting to know your community, will do wonders for your business and sourcing your clients. So literally, as I switched off my camera, I went back onto Instagram to see if there were any more questions, and I had one more question, so I'm going to answer that one quickly. It says, tell us about your experience in France, adapting work-life balance, and if it feels like home. So even though I said earlier, you know, South Africa and France are so vastly different, the people, the culture, the food, the transport, just everything is just so different. Not one thing feels the same, but it definitely does feel like home now. And as I said, if I didn't have my fiance, it would be a different story, because I think I'd be a lot more lonely. It would be harder to make friends, or harder to just, you know, have someone else there that speaks English. So it definitely does feel like home now, because I'm with him and because I'm with Ollie, and we've built a home over here. We've made this our home. That's one of the important things when you move across to another country, is finding someone or something that makes it feel like home. So yeah, this is definitely my home, and I feel I'm very lucky to have two homes. I have my home in France, and then I have my home back home in South Africa. And I love South Africa. It will always be home no matter where I am in the world. My home is always where my family is, and my fiance and Ollie are my immediate family. So, you know, I think it's easier. We will always have that sense of home because we're all together as a unit. So that definitely helps with the feelings and homesickness. We're not alone, we're in it together, which, you know, that's very important when you immigrate and move your whole life overseas to a new place. Adjusting with work-life balance, I have a very positive work-life balance, especially being a freelancer. It is quite nice because I have a very flexible schedule. I do have a very positive work-life balance. I take Ollie to the park almost every single day, so I'm always out, I'm walking him. I never feel like a slave to my job. And the last part about that would be the adapting part. So yeah, it was hard to adapt at first. As I said, we first moved to France and we lived in Orphez and no one spoke English. Literally, we had like 3 or 4 people that spoke English, and that was it for like 2 years. So that adapting was difficult from South Africa to France. But once I got to learn French, learn the language where I could actually go up, introduce myself to someone, have a conversation, speak, know what's going on, like if we're at the bar or at a restaurant, and be part of the conversation because I knew a certain level of French, that's when everything got a lot easier. And also just learning and understanding French life, learning how to do taxes in French, and going to the doctor in French, and finding a dentist in French. You get the common denominator, it's all in French, but that's because we live in France. And I don't complain about that because I've moved to France, therefore we need to learn to speak French and learn the culture and learn about the people. So that has also been very interesting, and just figuring out the differences between what we're used to and what they're used to. So that's also been quite a learning experience. If you're in South Africa and you try to cross a road, cars do not stop for pedestrians. Like, the pedestrian has to find a break in the cars and cross the road. Whereas in France, you try to cross the road and the car will stop. And sometimes I'm not ready to cross the road. I'm like waiting for my fiance to still come, but I'm just waiting by the side of the road, and then I feel pressure to cross the road. So it's like little minor things like that. And like food, people here take like 2-hour lunch breaks. It's crazy. In South Africa, that's unheard of. Like here, it's like a whole thing, taking your lunch, like everything closes down, the shops close down. Like good luck going shopping during lunchtime because the shop won't be open. That was something to get used to. And shops opening late, like at 10 a.m. a shop will open. Like you can't just show up at a restaurant at like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. to eat. You will be the only people in the restaurant. Most people eat at like 8, 9, 9 at night. So that's very different to South Africa. South Africa, most people eat dinner at around 7. 7:30 is like a later dinner. But yeah, here people, you show up to dinner at 9 and that's normal. The first time my fiance and I went out to dinner in France, we wanted to do starters, mains, dessert, have a couple of drinks. And we couldn't even order starters because the kitchen wasn't open. The kitchen opened at like 7:30. So we had to sit at the bar for half an hour first. You show up for dinner at 7 p.m. and you can't be served because the kitchen's not open. And another one, we went out because we wanted to just go for like a little snack at a restaurant. It was like 4 p.m. But again, the kitchen was closed because it was outside of lunch hours, because they're only open for lunchtime or dinner time. You can only order drinks. So that was another thing we had to get used to, was like you can't just show up to a restaurant at 4 p.m. and expect to eat because the kitchen will be closed, because it's not lunch and it's not dinner. So, and because people have such big lunches here, the lunches last until dinner, like you're full until dinner. So that was another thing to kind of get used to. And in terms of work, like opening a business, learning taxes, learning banking stuff, healthcare. Oh my goodness, healthcare was such a fiasco for me. I was only put on the French medical aid system after like 2 years of being in France because they messed up my date of birth, and then I had to change the date of birth, which took months. So I had to pay for private medical aid for the first 2 years. But now I'm all 100% fully sorted. I'm fully integrated into French life. I'm on the French healthcare. Finally, I feel after 3 years at peace and situated, like I'm fully integrated. The part of me also still feels sometimes, I'm like, what happens if I'm missing something? What happens if I haven't done something, And now with Marcel and I getting married, that's another whole thing of admin that we're going to sort out after we come back after the wedding. But right now I feel fully integrated, and I've managed to make a lot of friends, which has been so amazing. And it took a while to get to this point of feeling at ease and feeling like, okay, this is home, I'm fully integrated. Okay, so that was the add-in question. I know that took long, but yeah, that's just another question about life and struggles, about moving your life across the world and starting from scratch. It's different. Another thing that I would say that was a challenge was also in South Africa. I was well known, at least in my art design department. A lot of people know who you are. When you move overseas, no one knows who you are from a bar of soap. No one knows how many competitions you've won. Nobody knows your portfolio. Nobody knows any connections. Like, oh, I know who I worked with her here or whatever. You're starting completely from scratch all over again in a new language. I finally feel after 3 years now, I'm getting my running start and everything's going smoothly. But it did not happen overnight. It did not even happen the first year in France. It did not even happen the second year in France. I'd say from the 3rd year mark was when everything kind of came together. So it's very exciting. That's why I'm so excited for this year, because it's going to be a good year. I think in terms of business, in terms of personal stuff, the wedding coming up and everything, I'm feeling very positive. So yeah, I hope all these positivity vibes pass off onto you guys on the other side of the screen. Anyway, let's sign off now. Now you guys know a little bit more about me, who I am, and what I do. This video is kind of just like a check-in, getting ready for the new year, getting excited. I'm really keen to grow, to make more art, to make more designs, to get new clients, to get a YouTube sponsor. That would be really cool. I've got a lot of goals. I want to get 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm currently sitting on 14,900. I will be in South Africa for about a month and a half, so I'll do some filming there while I'm in South Africa, and I want to bring in a bit of like a lifestyle element into my videos, so it's not all just art and design, but it's also just a little bit about my life and wedding planning and my life as an artist. And like I said, you know, living in France and navigating French life and culture as a South African and all of that jazz. So now that I'm getting more established in my career, more established in my business, it's nice to be able to chat about this, to help other designers, talking about contracts and legal stuff, and for potential clients what they should and shouldn't look for in a graphic designer, and for graphic designers what they should and shouldn't look for in clients. That's kind of what I want to do this year, just like, I don't know, just have fun, film my everyday stuff. And it's exciting now. I've got my new desk set up, so I'm feeling good to go, ready to rock and roll, ready to rumble. I just finished my 75 soft exercise challenge as well, so physically I'm feeling amazing, I'm feeling so good, and yeah, I don't know, I'm really excited. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this video, this kind of just like get to know me kind of vibe. And yeah, I enjoyed it. This was lots of fun. Now I need to go and edit all of this for you. Ollie's ready, Ollie's excited. Hey my chicken. We've got a good year ahead, and yeah, are you trying to speak into the microphone? Anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely or wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.